Hello, welcome to the Hairdresser Strong Show. I'm your host, Robert Hughes, and I'm back again with Tony and Corey, co-host of your Day Off podcast at Hairdresser. Today, we're going to get their insights since they talk to so many hairdressers and owners and educators and influencers. What type of trends are we seeing in the industry? But first, if anybody who did not see the first episode or are not familiar with you guys, would you just introduce yourselves, please?
Yeah, it's my name's Corey, and I've been in the industry for 30 years. And just a few years ago, 4 years ago now, we started a podcast that we get to talk to hair experts and yada yadas.
Yeah, I'm Tony, and if you go back and listen to the first podcast we did with Rob, you'll know that Corey and I, we've been best friends since high school, and we kind of have the same hair journey.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the journey is so good. So definitely, if you all did not watch that last episode, go back and check it out. Well, today we're talking about trends in the industry, and we're specifically going to be talking about, in the last episode, you actually brought up something that you noticed with COVID impacting people moving from salons into suites, and people who had suites opening salons. I don't know if that's a place to start, or if there's some other trend that's definitely that you're noticing that you think we should start on.
What's been top of mind for us is Tony and I are incredibly fortunate. And last year, meaning 2021, we did a lot of traveling. We actually, over a 3-month period, we ended up at 7 different shows. So we were, just about every other weekend, or a little bit more than every other weekend. We were at different national shows. And the one thing that stood out, and we've talked about this on our podcast, the one thing that stood out is the need, the want, the interest in in-person education. A lot of the shows that we went to, there wasn't a lot of brand support. 2021, the brands pretty much shut down. But what that did is that allowed a lot of independent education to be available to these shows. And dude, we would walk by classrooms and you couldn't get in. The classrooms were absolutely packed with people. It said to me that in-person 2022 is the year of in-person education. I'm convinced of it, and I'm sure that we're going to see a lot of it. Whether it's like we're doing a regional show, whether it's a regional show or whether it's a national show, I definitely see that as the need in our industry.
Yeah, and to talk about what you just talked about in the beginning, talking about people moving to salon suites. And I think COVID had a lot to do with that, because pre-COVID, that there's always 1 or 2 spaces available in our studios. And, but since COVID and going through that, it's hard to find a studio because, people are coming to these studios because it's more intimate, it's more private. It might be 1, maybe 2 hairdressers in a studio, and it's less people. So our clients are feeling a lot more comfortable. So you're starting to see a lot more studios in the DC area and throughout the country opening up. And I think it has a lot to do with that, because it's more intimate.
I'd be interested to see if regular, W2 salons in the future, building out now. I wonder if I think now the rule is, Robin, maybe the number to this, but I think the rule is 10 square feet per station or something. There's some kind of rule. I wonder if that gets extended to 15 feet per station. I wonder if we're going to see stations be further apart in a regular salon.
Yeah, because most hairdressers at one point want to open up their own salon. And so I think the studio is a stepping stone to do that, because they learn how to run their own business. And then once you learn how to run your own business, then they can open up a studio. And we've seen quite a few people come into the studio suites and learn how to run their own business, and went out and open up salons and being successful at it.
Yeah. It's actually amazing if you think about it as an industry. Sorry, Rob, I stepped on you again.
Go ahead.
It's just interesting to see as an industry that you have that stepping stone, right? Because when we were coming up, you didn't have that stepping stone, right? If you wanted to open a salon, you destroyed the relationship that you had with your salon owner, and then you moved across the street, you took half the staff and you opened your own salon, but it's all that you knew. But now we kind of have that stepping stone. One, is it something that you want to do? Once you realize what all the work is and the effort that it takes, and speaking for us, we don't even manage people, which is a
Right.
whole different level to this as well. But it's really nice that that if you're going to open a salon, that you can use that as a stepping stone. That's
Yeah.
kind of like a proving ground.
I this is an interesting conversation because I like the idea. Okay, so one of my first episodes I did was actually Kun Tran, which you guys know, and anybody who doesn't know, they can go back and watch the first interview. But he's one of the education directors of PR Partners, which is where we all met. For those of you who didn't watch our first episode, he was saying that he saw like a lot of people who realized that the money that they could make when you cut out the hair salon, it was very appealing, and a ton of people did leave and go to suites, or people were thinking about it. And I was wondering, how long, if ever, do the people that go independent, are there going to be people who go and realize that the work is not what they want to do? Because some hairdressers I talk to, they like the idea of being independent and having control, but they don't want to do the work. They want to kind of show up, do hair, and leave. Maybe swing by like a color, like go grab some color now and then. But other than that, do you all have any experience with that?
I mean, listen, if this is going to be a totally honest and frank conversation, yeah, that's what I talk about all the time in my own head, right? Like if a commission salon, if I was talking to a commissioned salon, what's the appeal? Well, the appeal is that I can show up 5 minutes before and I can leave 5 minutes later. I don't have that option in my salon. Like
Right.
I absolutely am in my salon an hour early every single day to do the stuff that needs to be done, whether it's, wiping down a chair or folding towels or doing paperwork or whatever. And that doesn't end. I mean, once you own, whether you own a salon or whether you're independent, that's your job 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's definitely something that you always have to be monitoring. So the appeal is, but for me, that's the only appeal is like, oh, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes, 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, and someone else deals with all the other stuff, but go ahead.
I would say, even if you get a 25% pay raise, you're working for that 25%. It's not like
free.
No, it's not free, right? So there's extra work. But for me, what I love is that I dictate my schedule. So if I need to take off to when Corey and I are on the road, I can take off that Saturday or whatever day and make it up or not make it up, and it's on me. I don't have to worry about someone telling me, you know what I mean, you got to make this day up, or you can't take off this Saturday or things like that. So you do have that kind of independent, but that extra money that you're making, you are truly working for it. It's not like a pay raise. I mean, you're still working for that money. I mean, it's more money in your pocket, but it's extra work.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? If you don't like the work, then the salon's atmosphere is perfect. For me, when I was raising my kids when they were young, it was perfect for me. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to be home. I wanted to be with my kids. So I knew, like Corey said, 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, I'm gone. Peace. I don't have to worry about nothing. I can go home and be with my family. You know what I mean? Now that my kids are grown, I have all the extra time, and I can spend as much time as needed to run my business.
Yeah.
So what about people who, let's say, like, and this also came up in the previous interview, just like one tiny little soundbite that I really kind of latched onto was about, or maybe it was this interview, and maybe I'm combining a bunch of things together, but there was this part about, leaving the salon because you're not happy with your boss or the way things are going. And I would like to hear y'all's perspective on, if a stylist, which from when I talk to like independents, is a pretty large percentage of them. I would maybe not half, but maybe half. They left because of unfortunate circumstances or toxicity or something like that. Not necessarily because they wanted more freedom or more or more control, or they wanted to like decorate the place they wanted to. It was really they were leaving something that wasn't working, and they couldn't find another salon to move to. And so like going back is hard because they have this PTSD from, you know, horrible bosses. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, I think we have to, once again, we have to have an honest conversation about this. And if you're saying that 50% of the people are leaving toxic situations, I would make the argument that 50% of them created toxic situations within themselves. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that it wasn't toxic, but whenever the human experience I'm talking about, not hairdressing, but within the human experience, whenever we move on to something new, that old thing wasn't worth my time or my energy anymore. You know, and we create this story that we tell ourselves and that we tell people about why you had to leave that. You know, and I think that's just, once again, that's just the human experience, and that's how we kind of deal with stuff. You know, like I certainly know that the few times that I've left salons, that I've done that. I will not do that in the future, because now I've kind of been learned that, like, you know what, that's not the best of me. And I'm always striving to be the best of me. And I'm not saying that there's not toxic situations. I'm not saying that there's not unfair stuff, but you kind of have to really sit back and go, what did I learn from that situation? And in the entire story, not the last minute, but in the entire story, what did I take from that situation? And was it in fact a terrible situation that I had to leave, or was it just time for you to move on? Because I also believe that, you know, we have the ability to just move on if it's time.
A lot of times we have, and I'll be complete honest with my situation. When I left PR Partners, you know what I mean? I started to saying, you know, you guys are not fulfilling me. It's not their responsibility to fulfill me. He has a business plan. He allowed me to grow as much as I can grow under that business plan, right? He is not responsible for my happiness in the sense of a hairdresser, right? He provided everything he could, and I did everything I could to be the hairdresser I am. I just outgrew it, right? And so instead of me pointing the fingers and blaming, in the beginning I felt like I started to do, I'm like, you know what? I'm in control of my happiness. I am control of me as a hairdresser. It's just time for me to move on. You know what I mean?
And that's okay too.
That is 100% okay, and I moved on. But if I would have stayed there, I would have made it a toxic situation, and I would have said, you know what, it's Reg's fault. It's PR Partners' fault. It wasn't. It's me. You know what I mean? I removed myself from that because it was just time for me to move on. Just that simple.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm actually really happy you said that. You know, while I like both your points, you know, about while there are toxic situations and you got to figure out how to navigate that. I do, you know, I can definitely relate. Like, you know, if I'm unhappy, then everything around me is seen through that lens of my unhappiness. And with self-reflection, I definitely think that I can navigate that a lot better. But it really does take owning up and taking some responsibility. That's so deep. I love that. That's so good. You know,
great. I'm sorry. I was going to kind of just change the subject real quick because we're talking about trends and stuff. There's Salon Evo and Barber Evo, two new salon magazines in our industry. You're talking about quality paper, quality magazines. We are blessed to have a column in these magazines. But if you get an opportunity to subscribe, to get online, to look at them, you're talking about a company, and they're out of Scotland and England, but they're a company that are really kind of like on the same wavelength as we are to elevate the industry, and they're bringing on all these whether it's brands, independent educators, salon educators, or whatever. They're there bringing these people in, and they're trying to do their best to empower the hairdresser.
Yeah, the magazine's interesting because they are like hairstylist focused, right? Like if you go to like some of the older magazines, you know, you kind of see like, oh, well, they're fulfilling this article because they have a relationship with X brand. You know, they're kind of working the other way around they're kind of doing it the other way. And what they're doing is they're really elevating the hairdresser who happens to have brand relationships, not the brand relationships that are trying to elevate hairdressers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So they basically, it's like a for hairdressers, by hairdressers kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. And it's not by hairdressers, except I mean we have a column, so I guess that
Yeah,
makes
you
it by
guys. Yeah.
hairdressers. But I mean
Yeah.
they're definitely a publishing company that does it. But dude, the paper is quality. The it just looks like a what do they call that? Like a coffee table like magazine. It's just the quality is so superior.
Nice. All right. We'll make sure to put the links and stuff in the comments below. So I want to. If you're all right, so going back to something that we were talking about, in the event that a hairdresser wants to make that change to go back to leave the suite and go back to a salon, do you see that they destroy the hairdresser? They've been really promoting this concept of the future. They keep pushing this idea that the future of salons is commission-based salons that run like independent salons. Have you all seen that at all, or have any thoughts?
I've heard about it, but I haven't. I haven't. Is the word dived in? I haven't dove into what it actually means. I don't know what that means or how you set it up. I mean, I definitely think that hybrid salons are a thing. We've done some content on hybrid salons and how that could work. To run both the W-2 and a 1099. We've done some content on that. And we have some, but even the content that we've done, a lot of people also are shying away from it. Right, like hybrid, have to have 1099 and W-2 employees in your space. Now, I would
shying away.
I think it creates. It's not great for morale. Maybe on the floor, like if you're 1099, like by law, nobody can make your hours. You have to make your own hours, right? So, but by W-2, like somebody else is making your hours. So I think that unless you have the very, very special people to do that, then I think that there can be conflict on the floors. And by special people, I mean everybody, right? Everybody in there.
But it's part of the evolution, right? So it's as people experiencing or trying to develop the hybrid. It's evolving and it's learning, you know what I mean?
Fair.
Because it's a great idea on paper, and then when you start to put it to execute it, and then you got some people who are making their own schedule, and then you got the people that have the schedule set for them, and they're like, well, how come Corey's not here today? How come Corey gets to take off Saturdays?
Right.
And you know what I mean? So because Corey's independent, or he's, you know what I mean? He's a 1099. So trying to work through those bugs, and that eventually we'll figure it out, but it's like, it's evolving, but I think the future will be a hybrid because, because if PR Partners had a hybrid, I probably would have never left. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. Sorry to jump in. So that's actually where I was hoping that you would go. So the question that I got for both of you is, if there was a salon that would allow you to make your own hours and cancel and reschedule, as you need based on your needs as a family, as a human, and as podcasters who travel and stuff, would that be something that would you give up the owning your own spot?
Only if they had Click's hair color.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Oh man, that Click stuff. Talk about a trend. Talk about something revolutionary. Have you all used that yet?
Again, being on the show circuit like we are, and we're on with Clicks, and we're very, very, very friendly with the people at Clicks. We've seen it in action at the shows, and that thing is CLICS. Do yourself a favor and just watch it. It's like very, very, when you go to these shows, and we've all been to the shows, every year there's something new that's going to change the industry. I'm telling you, I'm not going to say it's going to change the industry, but it certainly has the ability to change the industry. The way that you do color, the way that you inventory. Our good friend Chris Benson has the best line ever about Clicks, and he says, "Why have a color line when you can have them all?" Because it's app based. They know everybody's formula, from Redken to Tony and Guy to whoever it is, that you can put in a Wella 6N and it'll make you a Wella 6N. It's like going to Home Depot and buying paint. That's
good. That's a good. analogy.
And whether it's Benjamin Moore or whether it's Sherwin-Williams, they can produce it for you. It is revolutionary, man. And what a great.
And the box is like what? The box is only like a few feet wide and a couple feet deep. And you don't even need the whole color dispensary anymore. You just have this one box. You punch in the thing, you stick your bowl in, and it produces the color.
I mean,
way more than that.
Yeah, I mean, like Robbie, this is so crazy. Like we work for them now or something. But like when you have the bowl, look, when you have the bowl and you do Sally's hair, if you have color left in the bottom of the bowl, you put that bowl back in. The computer knows that it's Sally's bowl, and then it totally reformulates your formula. So next time she comes in, you don't waste that 3 grams. I mean, it's mind blowing, and it does all the work for you. If you're independent, it's all app based. And if you're a salon owner, here's what's crazy is that you don't even pay for the color until it's in the bowl.
Yeah, that's
so like
amazing.
You don't pay for any of the inventory. Like you pay for it when it's in the bowl. You know, and by the way, if like I think it could work in like an independent salon situation because everybody pays for their color. So because it's app based, they know exactly who took that color out of inventory and it can charge them accordingly. I'm blown away by this product.
But I'm going to go back to
Go ahead.
I was going to go back to your question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
It was the salon, you know what I mean?
You mean the salon that Robbie's trying to open?
Yeah. If I was the owner of that salon, that chair has to make X amount of money, right? So
right.
I can be like, Robbie, you make your own schedule, do what you got to do. But this is what I had. You have to guarantee me every week or every month from this chair in order for me to make my business survive. Right. So I don't care how you do it. You can come in at 1 o'clock in the morning if that's who you are as a hairdresser. You do you, but by you doing you, you have a weekly rent that you must pay, and if you cannot pay that, then obviously then you cannot do you. You know what I mean? So there's a way for that to work, but yeah, but you know.
So like, go ahead. Sorry.
So if I was a hairdresser that I would go to a salon, you know what I mean? There's got to be expectations for that hairdresser. That
are we talking W-2 or 1099?
1099 or a whatever. It could be a W-2, but you make your own. He's trying to make a W-2 employee happy as an independent employee.
Yeah. So, I guess it would. It depends on the actual structure, but like what the Destroy the Hairdresser is saying is commission-based salons run like independent salons. So I'm assuming they mean W-2. I don't know, but like whether you're W-2 or not, if someone comes in and says, "Hey, do you want flexibility? You have to have this minimal annual guarantee or minimal monthly guarantee." Then are you gonna? That's not far off from paying rent in a studio. And if that number is comparable, then that would make you feel you wouldn't feel like pressure to bring in, to perform and bring in that money because you're already used to it. So that transition process, I guess.
Well, it's productivity based and not like client based, right? Like you're just saying, here's the numbers, right? Yeah. Like I don't know what that number is, but this chair has to create $3,000 a bit. If it's a W-2 employee, right? If it's a 1099, you're on your own, right? But this chair has to produce $3,000 a week. And like Tony said, I don't care if you do it at 2 a.m. If you think you can do it, and you want to come in at 12, but here's what it's going to cost you. And now with that,
if you can do it in 2 days a week, then hey, more power to you. Yeah. As long as you're making that $3,000 a week on that chair, I don't care how you do it. And that's kind of like.
I like that, man.
I mean, I don't know anybody who's doing that with the demand of the minimum, but it's just similar. It sounds similar to booth rental, except for it sounds exactly like a booth rental. Would you all ever go do a booth rental? I mean, and why or why not?
Hold on. I want to dive into something else real quick. So, but if you did that model that Tony's talking about, you couldn't have a guaranteed station either. Right, like you would have to be a floating station because then as the owner now you have to.
Now we're going to have a bunch of these salons pop up.
Yes. But you would have to have a floating station. Like you could be guaranteed a station, but not guaranteed your station, because there would have to be, if everybody's going to be fluid, then there has to be fluidity within the station, right? And like you could also, if you had 20 stations, you also might be able to have 40 employees, let's say, but then have this floating station model, or not probably
Well, that's
30, right?
So actually, and thanks for the introduction to Daniel Mason Jones. When I had him on the show, that's basically what he does. He is a commissioned W-2 salon, and he has a ton of people working. But he said they mostly just want to work like 3 days a week. So you got to like piece it together like Legos. I'm sure it's like on these days that's this person's chair. On these days that's that person's chair. So it sounds like he's doing what maybe the Fear the Hairdressers do, or Destroy the Hairdressers doing, or talking about. It sounds like it. And he said he changed his model a few years ago, and the whole conversation was about, young people don't want to work the same way, and they want to have more control, and they want to have a say over the schedule. However, I don't think he has like a minimum. He didn't mention that. Maybe he doesn't need it because he builds them and grows them, trains them, and then lets them pick their schedule. I guess you'd have to figure all that out too. So I guess the question comes back in, assuming all those things, is that something that you guys would consider, or do you like having that, that space that's yours?
I would
consider it.
I would be up for the conversation.
Yeah.
I'd be up for the conversation. It would be something that, because it's a model that I don't know how it runs intimately, like I do like a commission-based salon or something like that, it would be a long thought out kind of like, let's put it on paper. Let's see how this looks.
And you'd want to see it in action, maybe even.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and again, in a Daniel Mason's type way, like with really open books and stuff, like I would want to see it that way. That's what's great about Daniel, right? Like his books are totally transparent. But I'd definitely like to see it that way and see if we can make it work. And then, of course, if you had clicks in there, that'd be tempting as well.
Yeah. Well, that takes care of like the human need for running inventory. I mean,
that's to make it once again a clicks commercial. Like you don't even order inventory; they order it for you. They know. They know shit.
Which should be the way it should be. There's this. They have this. There's a smart cabinet, and it's not available yet where you can like load it with your own stuff. They got bought by a company that only loads it with preloaded stuff. But the idea is you like scan your thumbprint or scan a QR code. When you open the thing, you reach in and it has all these sensors, kind of like Amazon stores maybe. And it charges you for the product. I'm like, well, that's a solution right there to the retail. And then all of a sudden you don't even need a manager running. And then the books are, you can connect the applications to do all the books and run payroll, So, anyway, well, maybe Amazon Salon that opened up in London, and apparently they're going to open one in New York City. Maybe they're going to figure all this out, with all the sensors and cameras, and they got stations with cameras for consultations, and they're probably going to put hair on you so you can be like, oh, this is what you look like, with this haircut.
Yeah, when you're looking in the mirror, it has that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, future. I'm into all that stuff, that future stuff. So anyway, all right. Well, I think this has been awesome. So we got in-person education. I totally think that that's completely accurate. Like just even clients behind the chair, they're just so ready to like get out in the world. So to think that, hearing from you guys about in-person education, I think that's a positive thing in a lot of ways. It kind of shows that we're kind of moving forward.
We're moving forward and back at the same time. We're moving forward to get the education that we used to get.
Sounds like a tug of war.
Yeah. Yeah, and virtual education was good, but I never really enjoyed it personally. I
think that that's definitely here too. Like we're definitely going to have a hybrid space when it comes to like virtual education and online education. I think that we just COVID allowed us to fast forward 5 years, but I also think that there's a strong space for us to high five and hug and be in each other's space. And like you're never going to get the one-on-one from like with a smaller show like we're doing, you're never going to get the one-on-one time with the artist to say, oh, no, if you put your hands here, this will work better. You'll get the foil in better if your hands are positioned like this, or in a haircut, to kind of like actually grab your hand
Totally.
and do it. You're not going to get that from when there's 150 people on a Zoom call with you. You're not going to get that intimate. That's what intimacy is. Yeah.
Right. Well, and also, I agree with you that as the trend conversation about the education being virtual and here to stay, I will say that these students in these schools are like light years ahead where I was coming out of school, man. It's just nuts. Like their Instagram, the hair they're doing is like, oh my gosh. And so I think they attribute a lot of that to they're just soaking it up on their phone. They're just consuming so much information. So I definitely think it's positive. I just, my personally, I gotta be in person, and I gotta do hands-on. My thing is more hands-on than anything. Look and learn is fun, and I get a lot out of it. But I get 3 times as much out of a hands-on class that I do look and learn.
Absolutely. Same.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your insights in the industry. I know that you all talk to like top people and influencers and people, movers and shakers in the industry. So it's good to hear y'all's insight on this stuff. And I look forward to talking to y'all again soon. Is there any last pieces, tips or advice, or anybody that watching this that is interested, they're thinking about their future and they want to make sure that they're on top of their game because things are constantly changing and evolving? Any last pieces of advice or tips or thoughts?
Well, I'll start with regret, and a regret that I have in my industry and certainly in my career is that I didn't take the time to learn more. I didn't take the time to learn how to updo. I didn't take the time to learn how to haircut, because as trends move and as we move forward, as these trends move, you're going to need all those skills as your foundation. I wish I'd cut hair because I am so intrigued by like doing like extensions, but I can't do extensions because I don't understand how the shape of hair works. If that makes sense. I can do the color, like I can figure out the color and how to get the hair to blend, but how do I create a shape after that? So like that's something, I don't want to use the word regret because that sounds a little oversold a little bit, but I wish I had more knowledge with, to be able to do that. Even updos, I kind of wish that I had worked on learning those shapes a little bit. Even if I sucked at it, I kind of wish I took the opportunity just to kind of learn. So, if you're an up and coming a stylist, I would say like never miss an opportunity. Take advantage of all opportunities that you have, whatever you're to learn, or to better your craft.
And like, I'll just go back to what we touched on earlier, is that you're responsible for your happiness. Be happy, even if you're content or not content with what you're doing, but you're in control of your happiness. And if you're not content, then go find where you're going to be your contentment. Don't blame others that you're not happy. You know what I mean? Hold yourself responsible and then go find your happiness. You know what I mean? Life is short. Your career's long. Go enjoy it. Don't blame others. Yeah, don't blame others because you're not where you want to be.
Don't blame others for the shoes that you're wearing.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna put that as a quote for you guys. That was amazing. I love that. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. It's a pleasure having you on the show, and I really appreciate your insight and your time. And I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Awesome, Robbie. Thanks, man. Once again, congratulations on all your success, and until next time.
Thanks. All right, guys. Peace.